Hey, I am here off of the old Harrisburg Pike at the Adams County Agricultural Center. This site in 1863 was known as the Alms House, or the Jacob Culp Farm. Now, the Jacob Culp family occupied the Almshouse farm in 1863. The farm and the almshouse and the outbuildings were for the poor and the destitute, those with mental illnesses that had no family and no one to love and care for them. A small cemetery stood and still stands just in the distance past this corn over here, and is all that remains of the old almshouse site. Um, During the first day's fighting, the farm was the scene of intense fighting as the Union and Confederate forces clashed on this farm and by nearby farms. Now, after a few hours, it was again the scene of a retreat of the 11th Corps under General Otis Oliver Howard. Many men who were wounded and killed were done so on the almshouse property. Now, one story, one of the mortally wounded was a man named Bayard Wilkinson of the 4th U.S. Artillery, Battery G. He was struck by a shell fragment near the farmhouse, which stood over here, and he crawled to the house on his own power and later died there. Now, ironically, his father, Samuel Wilkerson, was also here in Gettysburg. He was a reporter for the New York Times and was in Gettysburg covering the war and the battle. And he was behind Union lines during the battle when his son was mortally wounded. Now, after learning of his son's death at the Culp farm, or the almshouse which stood here, he became very critical of the positioning of both his son's battery and the condition and lack of care of the medical staff that was here at the almshouse, which was transformed into a field hospital on the night of July 1st, 1863. It remained that way until August, when the wounded were moved over to Camp Letterman, which is in the distance over here. One other story, Private Justice Silliman, who also wrote a diary, he was in the Connecticut unit, 17th Connecticut, found his friend Sam Comstock lying in a puddle of water here on July 2nd of 1863. He was taken to the almshouse on the 4th and then the Camp Letterman later, where he died. The almshouse, unfortunately, the buildings and the farm were dismantled in the 1960s, and again, the only thing that remains is the cemetery that's just beyond the field of corn over here. This has been the Jacob Culp Farm, or the Alms House, here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook.